I've just been walking around on a Monday with that GMAC Cash Lions Won Again song in my head. Have you?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It is another week of Locked On Lions right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and a victory Monday, November 4th and a Tuesday, November 5th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Lions take care of business yesterday in Green Bay to move to 7-1, best record in the NFC North, best record in the NFC. We will dive into everything that is Detroit Lions today, with tomorrow at 4 o'clock being the NFL trade deadline. As of right now, I'm recording at 4:35 here on Monday. The Lions have not made a trade. Dan Campbell did say they're trying. We'll get into all of that today right here on Locked On Lions, which is brought to you today by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. Even if you win your first $5 bet, you get $150. If you win 5, visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can follow us on all over the social medias. You know where to find me on Twitter at Dery Speaks. You know where to find me on the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. Please subscribe and watch us on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Thank you to our everydayers who are out there that watch or listen to the podcast daily. Got a few of them that hit me up today on the Facebook page. Jason Emke, thank you, Jason. My buddy Tom Moriarty says, I got to shout out Ryan O'Connor in Aurora, Illinois. Rhino loves the show. He loves us. Thank you, Ryan. Hang in there, brother. Aurora, Illinois, hang in there. A lot of lies being told about Aurora, Illinois. Matthew Bryan is an everydayer. Thank you, Matthew. Dennis Pombeer III. Thank you, DP. John Betcher. And all of you that watch or listen to the podcast daily. One of our everydayers, Chad Toms. My man, Chad. I talked to him today as well. Appreciate all of your support here on Locked On Lions. We got to talk about Victory Monday. We got to get into Jared Goff. I got the PFF grades, top 5 and bottom 5 Lion performers on offense and defense. One of the bottom 5 performers is no longer on the Lions today, as he was let go. We've got some roster moves to get into. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Yes, I'm checking my phone during the podcast to make sure we don't miss anything here on the program. But how about that Lions win last night? Despite everything that went against him, the Brian Branch ejection, the bad weather, and there's so many things to talk about, so many things that we talked about yesterday on the Sunday show. But let me tell you this. By the way, Lions at Houston Texans for Sunday Night Football coming up. We're going to get Mike Tirico on the pod or somebody big this week. I'm working on it. Bear with me. Sunday Night Football should be fun. Love seeing the Lions in prime time again as they wrap up this 4 out of 5 stretch on the road, trying to go to 5-0. Here's what I was thinking about rewatching some highlights and listening to all the prognosticators and all the experts and the talking heads today when we're discussing the 7-1 Detroit Lions. I don't think enough is being made about Jared Goff. I don't. And I think while people are calling him an MVP candidate, and I know he didn't throw for 200 yards yesterday, and he was 18 of 22, so it wasn't like he lit it up. You know, he only missed 4 throws. But what Jared Goff is doing right now for this Lions team is an all-timer. It is. And yesterday he goes into Green Bay, and yes, there's still some people that were saying outdoor Jared Goff in bad weather, Jared Goff. Small hands. He has to wear gloves. It's not going to be pretty. The Packers might win. And my friends, all right, Cash the Ticket, Mike Valeni and Jim Costa, my buddies from 97.1. Mike is like a brother to me. Okay. Even them on their little, not their little podcast. It's a great podcast. Cash the Ticket podcast. They said the other day, I like the Packers, Goff in the cold weather. So many people. And again, he just keeps shushing the doubters. He keeps quieting the haters. You've got to have a quarterback in this league if you want to do anything. Look around the NFL right now. Look at what Jaden Daniels has done in Washington. Look at how Indianapolis is a mess at 4-5 because they don't have a quarterback. They got a good team. That's a good roster. I watched them play last night. They were right there with Minnesota. But Joe Flacco is 40 years old and not good. The future of that franchise, Anthony Richardson, isn't ready and isn't good. The Bears are struggling. Caleb Williams is struggling. Geno Smith yesterday has had some good games for Seattle. But Geno Smith is what he is. He's not leading the Seahawks to any promised land. But yet here are the Rams fighting for first place because they got Stafford. Here's Arizona in first place because they got Kyler. Aaron Rodgers is 50 years old and a shell of himself, the ayahuasca man. And the Jets stink, and Rodgers hasn't been any good there. The Lions got help yesterday from the Packers quarterback who threw them the football in Jordan Love. Made too many mistakes. Got to have a quarterback, and the Lions have a legit big-time quarterback right now. He's playing big-time football. And yesterday's win, man, like I said, I had some buddies that were in Green Bay. Our guy Brad Harrison, the former Lion employee, was there. You gotta have quarterback play in this sport. And this dude, people talk about the run game. I think it was Mina Kimes on ESPN, and she does a good job. The run game and how it helps Jared Goff. What about Jared Goff helping Jared Goff? Yes, the run game does help. Play action passes, the Lions' bread and butter. It's Ben Johnson's full-on lather. But guess what? This 35-game stretch, which is historic, it's the third best 35-game stretch in Lions history at 27-8. Thank you to our crack research staff. This 35-game stretch that they're on right now where they're 27-8, Jared Goff's been the one constant. He's been there for all these games. He's stayed healthy. He's pitching and catching with his teammates out there. He's leading by example. I don't think we're talking enough about this guy. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is undefeated. The Chiefs play tonight. Yes, Lamar Jackson is balling out for the Ravens. They blew out Denver. There's some really, really good quarterback play going on around the league, for sure. Jalen Hurts having a really good 4 games here. Last 4 for Philadelphia, in spite of his coach. But Jared Goff, man, I mean, this is stuff that the previous quarterback here did not do. Did not do. Period. Didn't do it. It's remarkable. Jared Goff has just won at Lambeau 3 years in a row. Remember when we used to sit here on this podcast and go, is this the year the Lions finally break the Lambeau jinx and win? Screw it. They've gone into Green Bay, beautiful Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin there. Next door to the beautiful Packer Hall of Fame and the Resch Center, where I've called many a University of Detroit Green Bay Phoenix basketball game. Goff just goes in there and wins and walks out of there with a victor. I hope the fans realize how good he's playing right now. Sure, few games into the year. What's the matter with Goff? Doesn't look right. I said it. First 3 games, it wasn't vintage Goff, but this 6-game win streak, my God, he's lighting it up. And he's accurate. And yesterday, it was a driving rainstorm the whole game. Packers drop passes. Love can't grip the ball. Interceptions. Balls behind receivers. Our guy, number 16, 18 out of 22. And loves being here. And loves this city. And loves this team. It's all working, man. It's all working for him. Good for him. Good for Jared Goff. And they should be chanting his name and screaming his name at games. It's cool. It's what we've been waiting for in this town for a long, long time. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, folks, coming up next, we got to get to the PFF grades. We got to talk roster moves, much, much more here on a Monday at Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual, the Robinhood Gold, can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. That's Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. And Locked On Lions today also brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, daily fantasy that is so much fun, that is you against the projections. You're not going up against anybody else. It's you against your picks and yours only. You pick just two or more, you pick 2 players up to 6 players. You pick more than or less than on their stat projections, and you could win up to $100 times your cash. All right. So you run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Tonight, Monday Night Football. You got the Chiefs. You got the Buccaneers. Play PrizePicks. It's so much fun. Again, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Patrick Mahomes' stats, Isaiah Pacheco's numbers. What about Baker Mayfield passing yards? More than or less than, let's say, 200 yards. You can do all of that tonight on PrizePicks. It is a lot of fun. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Right? Again, use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, ladies and gentlemen, run your game. Matt Dery with you, Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. I'll be heading downtown tonight. Yes, it's columnist night, as we like to call it. The Lakers are in town to take on the Pistons. Got invited to be in a suite tonight for a little networking event, and I will be there. Check out some Detroit basketball tonight against Bronny James, Dalton Connect, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So should be fun to be downtown again. I was down at Easter Market yesterday. Love what's happening in our city. It is, it's awesome. Fantastic. All right. Before I get to the PFF grades, one more thing on the Lions win yesterday over the Packers. The physicality that this football team plays with. Remember the Dan Campbell press conference when he first started, and he talked about biting kneecaps, and he talked about getting knocked down and getting back up. And some people made fun of it. That was when Dan Campbell had the long hair and everything else. Man, the Lions are just practicing what they preach. They really are. And there are certain guys that are playing with a swagger right now and with an edge. All right. I mentioned before on yesterday's show about a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wore the Green Bay Sucks sweatshirt, which I didn't love, but he backed it up. A guy like Amik Robertson. And all of you that are on Twitter following us at Dery Speaks and at Locked On Lions, when I tweeted yesterday about Amik Robertson, no more woofing, stop taunting people because you can get flagged. And he did get flagged. I'm a big Amik Robertson fan. I love how feisty he is. I love how hard he plays. Tagging him on my tweet and going, oh, see, of course I'm going to call him out. He got flagged yesterday. And it was a penalty that might not have been fair because he claims he was talking to the Lion fans in the stands. They got him for an unsportsmanlike conduct. The penalty flag still existed, and it still cost the Lions points. Now, the Lions were far ahead in the game. But those of you that tag me on that, like you're telling on me, I love Amik Robertson. It's been a great pickup for Brad Holmes. I just want him to tone it down a little bit so that there's not penalties. Green Bay had 10 penalties yesterday. The Lions had 5. And that was just an unnecessary one. But the Lions are playing with a swagger that you absolutely love. And it's setting up for this team making a special run. A win like that yesterday, man, just goes such a long way, especially for the young players. You get back in that locker room, you are soaking wet, even in the rain and the cold, for 3 hours. What a win. What a win. That was a lot of fun yesterday. All right. As always, like we do each and every Monday, time for our PFF grades. Pro Football Focus at premium.pff.com. Top 5 and bottom 5 Lion performers from yesterday on offense and defense in the Lions' 10-point win over the Green Bay Packers. No surprise. Number 1 on defense, Kirby Joseph, an 87.7 grade. Tops on the Lions yesterday at the pick 6. He played an incredible game at free safety for the Lions. A tie for second, Jack Campbell, 78.5 score, same as Carlton Davis. Great to see the Lions veteran cornerback tie for second. A really good game yesterday against the Packers. Fourth, Alex Anzalone, 72.5. That's Gaines Media's Alex Anzalone. And Aleem McNeil, a 70.6 grade, including a 75 pass rush grade. So your top 5 guys yesterday on defense, Joseph, Campbell, Davis, Anzalone, and Aleem McNeil. On defense, bottom 5, not so good for the defensive line. Al-Qadim Muhammad, 29.9. Yikes. Pat O'Connor, pride of Eastern Michigan, 30.1. James Houston checking in at 37.4. His run defense grade was 28.3. I told you, every time James Houston was in the game playing like left edge, they were running right at him. Fourth worst was Chris Smith, the nose tackle, and the pride of Cranbrook and Notre Dame, 39.8. We'll tell you about Chris Smith in a moment. And Amik Robertson, a little bit surprised here, came in at a 40.0 grade for Robertson. So those are your bottom 5 and top 5 Lion performers from yesterday's win over the Green Bay Packers. What about on offense? Number 1, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, 82.7. Number 2, Sam Laporta, 79.4. Kevin Zeitler, the Wisconsin native, 78.7 was third. Fourth, Penei Sewell, of course. Dude's a dominant right tackle. He's a boss, 76.8. And Jared Goff, fifth at 76.2. Those are your top 5 Lions from yesterday on offense. Bottom 5, Shane Zylstra, part of the Flying Zylstra brothers, 44.1, the tight end. Brocktober, the Brock Party, Brock Wright, 49.7. Khalif Raymond, 51.0 was bottom 3. Jahmyr Gibbs, 58.6 was fourth worst. Interesting. And Graham Glasgow comes in at 60.7, putting a minimum of at least 9 snaps out there for this. Other guys such as Craig Reynolds, Isaiah Williams, Dan Skipper don't count. They didn't play enough snaps. So those are your top 5 and bottom 5 Lions on offense from yesterday's big win over Green Bay. And the Lions, the beat goes on. 7-1, 6 straight wins. Big game coming up Sunday night in Houston against the 6-3 Texans. Big question is, will the Lions have some new bodies on the roster? Will they have a new body on the roster? Pro Football Talk and Mike Florio reported yesterday that a Zadarius Smith trade to the Lions was imminent and that it was going to happen either tonight, that was yesterday, or today. As of 4:53 p.m. right now, Zadarius Smith is still a Cleveland Brown. Dan Campbell said it today. We're trying to make a trade. Sometimes it's not up to us, meaning maybe the Browns and Andrew Berry got cold feet. Maybe the asking price has been too big. Today, the Arizona Cardinals went out and acquired Baron Browning, the former Ohio State Buckeye and Denver Bronco edge rusher, and got him from Denver for a 6th round pick. Maybe Brad's trying to swing a little bit better and deeper for the fences than a guy like Baron Browning, who's more of a rotational piece. Zadarius Smith is a guy that has had really good seasons in this league. More on that coming up next, including a couple of roster moves that we will get into right here on Locked On Lions. You know it, everybody. It's a Monday edition. Busy week ahead right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And a proud sponsor of Locked On Lions is our friends at Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours on your phone. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Maybe history, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but not change basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. That is why our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses that include what I mentioned before: Introduction to Free Market Economics, Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and so much more. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. That's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register, hillsdale.edu/lockedon. And hey, we're also proudly brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. College basketball opens tonight. Even if you want to put some money down on any random game like Bradley and Southeast Missouri State, go Braves. You can do it at FanDuel. Tonight, Michigan and Cleveland State. You can bet on that at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app, they got everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, a couple of roster moves. Remember, the Lions need to open up 2 roster spots. 1, if they're going to make a trade and acquire somebody like Dery Smith. And 2, Jameson Williams is back on the active roster for Sunday night showdown with the Houston Texans down in Houston. C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, I think, is going to be back. That's a good Texans team. The Lions are going to be playing Will Anderson and company as well coming up on Sunday. So today, the Lions waived 2 players. Linebacker Abraham Beauplan and Chris Smith, who just played last night, and it was, as we talked about before, was a bottom 4 Lion defender in terms of his performance along that defensive line. So 2 guys gone. 1 spot we know is for J-Mo. The other spot, we are not sure. They got to make a move. There's got to be a trade. Brad Holmes is working the phones. Trade deadline is 23 hours from now. And you have to figure the Lions are going to add an edge rusher. Dan Campbell said today, if a trade isn't made, we're going with who we have. But as we talked about before, in looking at what the Lions did yesterday on the defensive side, all of these guys that were practice squatters or guys from other teams that they've brought in, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Patrick O'Connor, James Houston, Chris Smith, Isaiah Thomas, Trevor Nowaski played 35 snaps yesterday. Those were all bottom guys in terms of PFF performance. Levi Onwuzurike is playing well. He's a defensive tackle, kind of masquerading as an edge right now. They need to get Josh Paschal back. You wonder about his illness and if he's better, if he's good enough to play this Sunday night. But Muhammad, O'Connor, Houston, Smith, Thomas. I mean, Isaiah Thomas on that first Josh Jacobs run, the long run in the first half, just got completely obliterated by the Packers offensive line. Oh, by the way, speaking of offensive line, anybody see the quote from Elton Jenkins, the Packers guard that played center last night? The team that executed won tonight, not the better team. The Packers and their fans cannot take it that the Lions right now are spanking them. They can't take it. They can't believe it. I've seen it on my Twitter. Oh, we've won 4 Super Bowls. We've had 16 decades of success. What have you guys won? Y'all are getting your asses kicked the last 3 years by the Lions. Come on now. Come on now. Come on. Just Elton Jenkins making a comment like that is just laughable. Yes, the Lions were the better executing team yesterday, but they're also the better team. Packers have 3 losses. The Lions have one. Green Bay's good. Don't get me wrong. The Packers are not going anywhere. The Packers are going to be really good. Jordan Love's got to stop throwing it to the other team. He's very reckless right now. He's more Favre than Rodgers, as Colin Cowherd would say. But that's a good team, really good team. Their defense held the Lions to 17 points. 7 of those was a pick 6. So they're getting better. But Elton Jenkins, my God, sounds like such a whiner. Better team didn't win. Okay, Elton. We'll see you at Ford Field in December for that Thursday night game. All right, let's see about what the Lions are going to do. One roster spot is open right now. We will be back with you tomorrow to discuss the trade deadline and more on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Dennis Allen fired by the Saints today. You want more on that? Check out my man Ross Jackson at Locked On Saints. We're back again tomorrow.